I'm gonna start recording.
Okay.
Yeah, it started recording. So,
Okay.
um, so welcome to another episode of Access by GCL. Today we are joined by Mr. Kevin Koester, the President and CEO of Apex Steel. My name is Vidhushi Kondabathini. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to do this interview with us. So, to start off, can you tell us a little about yourself and Apex Steel?
Sure. So again, my name is Kevin Koester, and President CEO of Apex Steel. Founded the company in 1996. Um, I've been an iron worker for 35 plus years now, and I love the engineering aspect of my job. And probably one of the biggest passions for me was building bridges early in my career, and that is kind of helped me transition into more of the engineering role that I play today in the company.
That's really cool. So Miss O, and I also learned in, resources that you have a very athletic past and present. Did your success in gymnastics and other athletic fields help drive the direction of your career? If so, how?
It did in a lot of different ways, and not just gymnastics, but athletics in general. So, gymnastics obviously was great for agility, and in the ironworking business, you spend your life 200 feet in the air a lot of the times, right? And so that was great for me, as well as the teamwork that I learned in gymnastics and other sports, right? You can't do everything yourself, and you have to be able to rely on your team, and you have to trust your team. So that was huge. Amongst just gaining confidence, you learn that you have the ability to do some things that maybe you didn't think you can, and then once you succeed, it gives you confidence and allows you to maybe take some more risks down the road, calculated, but risk all the same.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. Like, I get how it can make you feel confident in what you're doing and it can make you feel like you can do things.
That's right.
So, what are some of the projects you have worked on recently?
Oh, we've done some really fun ones over the last few years. A couple years ago, we did the Space Needle remodel, which was called the Century Project, 100 years, and that was amazing to be able to be involved in that project. Obviously, probably the most high profile project that we've ever done. So that one, right after that, we went to a job called Second University, which is in downtown Seattle. And we built a podium that was 7 stories tall with some amazing 200,000-pound concrete columns. And then on top of that 7-story podium, we built a 42-story steel high rise on top of it. And the engineering and the process that went into that was really cool. We have done the CARE project most recently, which is for Children's Hospital, which used something called side plate, and it's a preparatory structural moment frame system that we used. That was really exciting, and obviously to be part of the community with Children's Hospital benefiting. So that was cool. And right now we're currently working on the new 50-story high-rise tower for Amazon in downtown Bellevue. So we're really excited about that one.
Do you think that like all your projects like make a difference?
In what way? Just, you mean in the community, in the
Yeah, like
world? Yeah.
the community and like help people like, you're saying the CARE project, building hospitals for children. Do you think that really impacts some people's lives?
Absolutely. And that's our job. I'm not a doctor, but I take pride in what we do, and we build things for the community and for the world. Whether it's the Space Needle that maybe people come and they see things that they may never be able to do, or children's hospital for the kids. We do a lot of hospital work, and on top of that, obviously, we get involved in a lot of different charities in the community, right? So we're really proud about that.
So, what were some of the biggest obstacles you faced when starting Apex Steel?
Um, Probably like any small business, finances are always challenging, right? You don't usually have a lot of money when you're starting a small business. So that was obviously challenging, and we had to grow steady and slow and steady so that we could finance. On top of that, I would say probably the biggest challenge is having the relationships. So the longer you're in business, you build relationships, and that brings on repeat business. Early on, there weren't a lot of relationships that I had, so I had to build those along the way. And today, probably 90% of our business is from the relationships that we have, right?
So, one of the most impressive projects that Apex Steel has undertaken is the renovation of the Space Needle, like you said, the Century Project. Could you tell us more about the gantry crane that you designed and built during this process? How did it work and what was its purpose?
So originally, I'd been working on the Space Needle for approximately 3 years before we ever stepped foot on the project. And when the contractor originally came to me and said, "Hey, one of our challenges is we have to get these 2,000-pound glass panels up on top of the Space Needle. How are we going to do that?" So we explored every option, from tower cranes to mobile cranes to material hoist, building something on top of the elevators that were existing that we could take them up. So ultimately, when it was all said and done, we came up with this gantry system, and it was really cool, one of a kind. We put it up so that it could be used during construction. And if you think about the constraints, we had to take every piece of that gantry up through the existing elevators and put it together by hand on the observation deck of the Space Needle, 500 feet in the air. So that was challenging enough. So once we got everything up and put it together, the really interesting about this gantry is it can be reused. So when we were finished with the project, we took it apart, and it's all in storage now. So for instance, in the future, if one of those big glass panels were to get damaged, they would bring in another panel, we would re-erect our gantry crane, and we could bring the panel up for replacement, right? So we had to design it so that it could be used for maintenance in the future. So
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea because if something happens, you need to be able to fix it.
that's
So,
right. Yeah.
um, did you face any challenges renovating the Space Needle, which was built in the 60s? So, like, kind of, it's a little old. And, like, did you face problems ensuring it was up to the current codes?
So one of the interesting things we found out up front was that the Space Needle was massively over-engineered when it was originally built. They didn't have all the information we have today and the tools to do all these seismic testing. And so what we found originally, we had a massive scope, basically reinforcing the legs all the way up top to bottom. Um, After all the input went in and all of the testing went in, it came back that really we only had 3 locations that had to have seismic upgrades. So that was in the basement, at the 100-foot level, and at the 400-foot level. So when it was all said and done, that scope was about a tenth of what it originally was, just based on the fact that they were able to find out how strong it was really originally built.
Hmm. So, I also heard that you did some work on the foundation. Did you have to like put concrete in or did you have to like put like metal posts? Like what did you do with the foundation?
Yeah, the foundation, we ended up having to go into the foundation and drill 12-foot deep, 6-inch diameter holes into the foundation, put anchor rods in there. And then basically what we did is we tied the 3 legs together with steel. So we welded big gussets onto everything, and we tied all the legs together so they wouldn't necessarily be as independent as they were originally designed.
Yeah, so now the Space Needle is going to stand.
That's right.
So if you were to go back in time when you started this career, would you have changed something that you did?
I don't know. I've been pretty happy with my career. I think, like I spoke to earlier, I was fortunate enough to build a lot of bridges early on, and that kind of gave me my passion for trying to do the unique one-off projects like the Space Needle or 2U. So, um, yeah, I think all in all, I'm pretty happy.
So would you say that you really like doing bridges, like putting, well, I heard that there are like different ways to like reinforce bridges. So would you say that you've tried all of those, like seen all the different ways to do it?
Definitely haven't seen all the different ways, but like when I first started, one of the very first projects that I did was a cable stay bridge. So it was a 200-foot tall cable stay bridge, which is a balanced cantilever structure that was very challenging, and that's the one that kind of drove my passion for the engineering side of things. Um, we continue to look for new ways to do things and be more efficient, but definitely have not seen everything, although we've done a lot.
What advice would you give to the next generation of people who want to do something similar in life?
Um, Obviously, work ethic is huge, and the thing that I think about is being able to think unconventionally. Never rule anything out, and let your mind kind of be free and think of all the possibilities, and then narrow them down, and working with the professionals to figure out what exactly can and can't be done, and start to do your analysis from there. But you have to start with a pretty broad spectrum.
So you would say teamwork is a big part of like your job.
Huge part of my job. Yeah, you have to trust your team. You have to have good people. That is for sure.
So, where do you see your field going in the next 10 years?
That's an interesting question. I think one of the things that has been challenging in the past is muscle fatigue and injury on the job. And I believe that at some point we're going to see robotics in the construction industry. How that's going to work exactly, I'm not sure, but I feel like that's right around the corner. As equipment continues to evolve, I believe that we'll also see the robotic side of things.
Okay, and what specific advancements would you like to see, like things that change that you specifically want?
Yeah, for me, I think the lean building process really intrigues me. And again, probably the thing that I would like to see most is the collaboration of different trades. So when we have the opportunity to get in on a project very early when it's in design phase, I have the opportunity to work with the structural engineers, the erection engineers, the architects who want a certain look, the contractor and the owner who has to pay for everything. And that collaboration seems to always provide a very successful project. So I'd like to see more of that.
Well, thank you so much for your time again. It was really good and amazing speaking to you. And I hope to see your company, you know, going to amazing heights. And I will see all the projects you do definitely in the future.
I appreciate that. You did a great job, and maybe you can come to work for me someday.
Thank you. Well,